Hi friends, welcome back to etlqalabs. So in today's session, I would like to talk something different before we actually start or begin with this session, right? So I would like to talk about myself, who am I, and what is my qualification, and then what is the intention, why did I started this channel, right? And then we will cover this particular topic, database versus data warehouse testing. All right. So, all right, guys. So I have completed my Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science, and I have total of 16 plus years of experience, uh, and very specifically on backend testing. So when I say backend testing, it is database, data warehouse, ETL, um, cell scripting, Perl scripting, any kind of backend testing, all those kind of tools that I have worked, and uh, web services, API testing, etc. Right? So everything that happens in the backend, all those kind of testing, I have been working on so far since last 16 plus of years, right? And yeah, that's little bit about myself. And then guys, why this channel I started, right? So this channel was, I mean, one fine day I was thinking that, uh, since I have been working into this very niche skill set, so I know, guys, I think most of the people who are into testing and they are actually working even, slightly more than 10 years, uh, they they end up doing the testing into different areas of the the QA, right? But my experience is very specific to this backend testing. Yeah, I do have exposure to automation using Selenium, REST assured, etc., and also a little bit exposure into load testing, performance testing. But then majority of my testing goes into back-end testing, right, guys? So in this channel, I thought that I will be sharing my knowledge so far, what I have understood and what I know, right? And if that little uh, uh, information that I can provide here, if that can help you, right? And to know and become a better person for tomorrow, right? And that will be a great thing, right? So that is the reason I started this channel. And this channel is just, I think, not even more than 2 months, I think somewhere around 2 months old, right? So it's very new. And I'm very passionate about creating a video and then, sharing my knowledge that I have acquired so far. And guys, I try to bring you more and more video, and but again, I sometimes I feel like I need some more, topics from your side, basically, and hence that will be really helpful. So that once you provide me topic, I can actually um, um, create a video on that topic, right? So please do extend your support and provide me uh, the topics that you would like, right? And this is what the intention of the channel is. And if you feel that this is the right channel for you and you want to grow your, so it is not only for testing, guys. So within the testing, I am actually specifically covering all the tools. So for example, I have created some of the videos related to SQL, that is from basic, right? So if somebody want to learn about SQL from ABCD, then he can go and watch my videos one by one. And I ensure that those videos are in continuation with the previous session. So whatever you learn, um, it will be there will not be any disconnect. So if you follow one by one, you can learn those topics, right? So, and I have created some of the videos related to Unix, all right, and then data warehousing. I think one or two videos I have created, and also there are some videos related to ETL testing. Yeah, so ETL testing using Informatica. I have created some of them. So please go and watch all those session. I know that it is not so fancy. My sessions are not so fancy because I don't want to put in so much of efforts, making all these fancy videos and all. But then if you watch my contents or my sessions very carefully, I think that will really help you understand, the things that you want to, right? So please, guys, I will suggest you if you are interested and you really want to learn those topics, not limited to only testing, but at general also. If you want to learn those technology, right? Please go and watch all those videos, and that will be really helpful. And I promise you that whatever experience I have into testing, right? More than 1.5 decade now. I think whatever information I'm going to share, I think that is the best in the industry, and that will give you the holistic view, right? Because of this experience that I have, right? So I will strongly suggest if you are interested in my videos, please go and watch and do subscribe and do support me, and do not forget to give me, give me any topic that you would like me to create the video on that particular same topic, right? I mean, in continuation with that, obviously. And so, without any, further delay, guys, let's start this topic, right? That we are learning here, right? So, database and data warehouse testing. So, many people are asking, or many people are not very sure what is database and what is data warehouse testing, right? So, some people think that database and data warehouse testing both are same, right? But no, it's absolutely a wrong, understanding. Both are the different testing. Okay. So when I say database, database is what? Database is basically, in layman language, I will say, it's a collection of structured data. So that is stored in form of tables, and that's a big container, and then you have a lot of data into that, right? And then what is the data warehouse? So the warehouse is kind of, that's where you store everything, right? And you do not really use that the things in the warehouse, but whenever you need it, if that is available, then you use it. So similarly, database is to keep the information, uh, and that database is mostly from the transactional point of view, yeah, and the data warehouse is mostly from the analytical point of view, right? So in warehouse, if you want to, it basically contains the historical data also. So in database, we actually normally keep the current data, but in data warehouse, we keep the current data as well as historical data, because in data warehouse, we are going to do the historical analysis, or any kind of prediction for future, etc. So we need to have a huge amount of data, everything, so the past data and then future data. I mean past and the current data both, so that we can do all this analysis. And data warehouses are mostly used for generating the reports for the management to take any further decisions, right? So this is what I think we already know that, right? So database and data warehouse. Now, guys, in terms of testing, what kind of different testing that is done, right? So I have listed here couple of things. I think this will be able to clarify all the questions right here. So first of all, what we do is we do the schema testing. So in schema testing, what we do is we basically go to the table, the corresponding table. Obviously, the table analysis and then checking the column data size and data type, etc. This you have to do it based on your mapping document or based on your requirement document, right? So in the requirement document, this information will clearly be there, right? What will be the name of the table and what will be the column name, what is the size, and what is the data type, etc. Everything will be there already. And what you have to do as part of the schema testing is you have to go there and you have to basically mm, check, right? Whether the information provided are the table name or the column name, etc. Everything is in accordance with the requirement document, right? So similar thing that we do in the data warehouse only also, right? So the both these two things are supposed to be done in database testing and data warehouse testing, right? So this is usually done, this is not the data testing. This is just a schema testing. Schema, when I say, it's a structure of the table, right? So this doesn't need to have any kind of data in it in order to test. You can just test the schema or the structure, right? And then what we do is in database testing, we also do the little bit more testing, that is stored procedure testing, trigger testing, etc. So if that is also in scope, right? So for example, if there is one stored procedure, for example, or maybe one function, right? Delete employee, all right? And then in function, maybe you are providing some employee number, and that function is supposed to run, and at the end it is supposed to delete that particular employee number that you are passing in that particular function, right? So what we have to do as part of the database testing is we have to run that particular function using the proper argument, or you say the uh, option, and then you check whether it has really deleted the data in the table or not, right? For example, employee table, you are giving that, and then when it is running, whether it is going to delete that particular or not. So in that case, if it is deleting, then you say that yes, the trigger is working fine, or you can say that the function is working fine, stored procedure working. Basically, you need to run all of them, right? And then this has to be done on the data. So the first one, this doesn't need to have the data on the table or underlying database, but this need to have the data because you are actually going to run them and then test whether they are actually able to perform what is intended to be done, right? All right, but we do not have anything called stored procedure or triggers, etc. in the data warehouse, guys. Okay, data warehouse testing. Now, second, the testing is the data volume. So data volume, basically normally in the database, we have the limited amount of data. Why? Because it is actually containing the current data or the relevant data, all right? But in data warehouse, we have the huge amount of data. This huge amount of data can have the historical data also, right? So when I say historical data, it can be based on the regulatory requirement, maybe 10 years, 15 years, right? All those data which is accumulated so far is stored in the data warehouse, guys. Okay. We will see that how these data are stored and how they are different, right? And that is different topic altogether, the ETL jobs and all. And then third differentiation is the data model, guys, data model testing, right? So what basically what is the data model for the database testing? So all the databases are created using the ER modeling, entity relationship modeling, right? So you have the primary key, you have the foreign key, you have the data normalized format, right? One NF, two NF, three NF, BCNF, etc. And then the dimensional modeling is used in the data warehousing, right? So if you have not watched my videos, I think previous videos, you should go and watch my videos related to data warehousing, right? That's what I have explained. What is the dimensional modeling, right? So dimensional modeling is basically uh, a data modeling used for creating a data warehouse, all right? So that's where in dimensional modeling we divide entire table into two set of table, two type of table. Okay, one is the fact table that basically keeps the measures and the mostly the numerical data which can be aggregated, and then dimension table. Dimension table are basically the business across, right? Business wings of the particular the dimension. All right. So those basically keeps the mm, textual information, right? So that is the dimensional modeling. So we create fact and dimension table, and then we also have snowflake, star schema, and all those things are there, right? But for now, you should just remember the data modeling used for database testing is ER modeling, and for data warehouse is dimensional modeling. Okay. Now coming to the source systems. So what is source systems? Basically, for your testing, what is the source system from where the data is coming for this testing, right? So it's mostly the homogeneous source systems, which means the data is coming from the, either coming or what do you say, it's not having the multiple source systems, right? It's normally one system, maybe it's a database from where it is coming, right, all the data. So that is called homogeneous. If we have only single type of source data, then that is called homogeneous data. And if we have multiple source systems, for example, you have the database, you have the SAP, and you have what do you say, the file system, etc., right? So data is coming from multiple source systems. So in that case, in data warehouse testing, right, we consider all those things, and we do the testing, right? Hence, data warehouse testing is the complex testing, but database testing is little straightforward testing. Yeah, you still need the expertise to test the database testing. We will discuss in the down below here, right? But then that the data coming in the data warehouse testing, database testing is normally the homogeneous or the same type of source, and then in data warehouse heterogeneous source system. All right. Data type. Okay. So now again you have created the tables. You've created the table, and those tables are basically normalized tables, right? So you have the primary key, foreign key constraint, you have 1NF, 2NF, transitive dependency, etc., right? So those tables are what? Those tables are normalized because they are supposed to be normalized because they are the OLTP system or online transactional system, right? That is the reason data type that is being stored on this database are the normalized tables, and then we test all those tables, right? But uh, in data warehouse, all the tables are in denormalized format, fact and dimension tables, right? And it is because we want to store huge amount of data, and uh, we want to store uh, a huge number of columns in the dimension tables, right? So probably you can imagine that, let's say I have 10 tables here in the database, and then the same 10 tables, if I need to convert into the data warehousing table or OLAP table, then that 10 tables can be used, I mean, can have all the columns in one or two tables only. Okay. So that is the reason we do not have normalization here. Rather, it is a denormalized. All the tables are denormalized. Okay. Now, queries performed to test. So what are the queries that we use to perform? So here we use all sorts of query, right? Because we want to check whether the things are working fine, right? So for example, I will just take what is the database testing. One thing that I said is in database testing, you either can do the testing on the objects, the database objects, which are stored procedures, triggers, function, etc. And then other bit of testing that we do in database testing is kind of, you have one GUI or the application, and then you have the backend database connected to that, right? So what you would like to do is you would like to enter something in the web-based application or in your application, and then the same information should be saved in the database. And what we have to do as part of that is, let's say you entered something, some form is there, let's say, and that form is connected to your database, and if you are putting in some information in the form and submitting it, you should go back and check in the database whether you know whatever information you have put in, everything is reflecting in the database or not, right? So we also have to ensure that there is no truncation of the data and nothing. All sort of testing that we do, we ensure that apple to apple match is there between that application or GUI and then the database, right? So this is the testing mostly involved, and other testing, as I explained, is related to the database objects, right? So these are the two type of testing that are involved in the database testing. Now, when we go to the warehouse testing, what we do is data warehouse. So in data warehouse, since every data warehouse involves the ETL tool, right? Why ETL tool? Because uh, we have the data from multiple disparate system, and we have to aggregate the data. We have to, um, extract, transform, and load, right? And load into the data warehouse, right? And then once the data is loaded in the data warehouse, what happens is there will be reporting tools configured to that. For example, we have multiple reporting tools like Tableau or Cognos, etc., which will be helpful to pulling out the report for the management, right? So the whole purpose of creating a data warehouse is what? So that we can use those information for trend analysis, or to do any kind of forecasting in the sale, or to take a certain business critical decision, right, based on those data. So that is the reason scope of the data warehousing is increased, right? So what are the components are involved normally? The database, obviously the database involved, that's where we are creating all these tables, fact and dimension. And then you have the file system, right? File system can be data coming in from the different flat files, right? Maybe CSV file, etc. And then you also need to know the tool that is being used. For example, it is SSIS, or it is Informatica, or maybe anything, SAP, BODS, etc., right? So that understanding of the tool is also important, because a lot of things that we need to do in the ETL tool is basically to open the tool and go to the mapping and check whether the validation logic that developers has put in, it is matching as per the requirement document or the mapping document or not, right? So important is to understand this tool also, and knowledge of all the tools in transformation, right? Now, also knowledge of the reporting tool. So after the data warehouse is populated, after the ETL process, and then same data is being pulled by the reporting tool on periodic basis, right? So knowing how the tools, how this reporting is there, we also need to do the testing for the reporting tool also. So for example, in this entire thing, what are the testing we have to do? We have to do the testing on the database, and the file-based testing, basically the Unix, right? And then ETL tool, we also need to understand whether tool is behaving properly, and reporting tool. All those testing are required. All right. Now, guys, technical expertise. What is the technical expertise needed? I mentioned that the database concepts, SQL, functional testing. These are the three. I think more than enough for any database tester to do the validation. For data warehouse, the list is quite big. So data warehousing concepts, first of all, the database concepts, yeah. Database concepts we should know, and database concepts, basically SQL query and normalization, and trigger function, etc., we should know here, okay. And then data warehousing concepts, very very important. Until you know the data warehousing concept, you will not be able to test it, right? So fast changing, slow changing, dimension, etc., all those kind of things, right? You'll not be able to test it. So uh, understanding of data warehousing concepts. Linux or Unix, right? So we should know that, right? Because we are actually dealing with files here, let's say, here file system. We definitely need Unix to, do any kind of to perform any kind of testing on the file system, right? And then ETL tool, we need to know this ETL tool as well, whatever it may be, Informatica Power Center or SSIS or BODS, SAP, right? And the reporting tool also we need to learn. So basically, when you have to do the data warehousing, you need to learn more and more tools, and hence you are more employed in the organization and also outside organization, right? Now the last topic that we would like to cover and finish is, the performance testing, right? So usually in database, because the size of the data is very low, and doesn't need to have performance testing, because in this case we normally do perform the crude operation, right? I think here I missed to, I will cover it. Right, so we normally do not do the performance testing. However, in data warehouse, performance testing is must because we have the huge amount of data, and we would like to really check, how much time it is taking to generate a report. All right, because report generation of report will also take a lot of time because you are actually running on millions and trillions of records, right? So that is the reason performance testing is important here, and we should know that how much time it is going to take, because business also need to take certain decision, and they would like the data availability on time also, right? Now, I think we wanted to discuss on SQL queries performed. So, what are the queries that we perform in database testing? Because every sort of testing, right? We are inserting also something in website, and we are actually from backend also we are correcting, inserting, right? So, we actually perform the CRUD operation that are used in the testing. So, CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. All this operation we perform. However, in the data warehousing, since it is we are only storing the historical data and we are using it for analysis purpose only, we are not going to modify any data here, right? So we are actually just reading the data and fetching the report. So read only queries are SQL select statements are mostly used in this case, right? So yeah, guys, I think this is I wanted to cover about database and data warehouse testing. I think this session will be helpful to you. If you still have some questions or some doubts, please feel free to comment on the description or the comment box, and I will be able to come back with the answer, right? So, okay, guys, I would like to wrap it up here. Thank you for watching, and please do subscribe my channel if you want to learn more and more things about backend testing. Okay, thank you, guys. Bye, and until then, happy learning.